everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Morgan and this is Makeup by Morgan, and today I'm going to be doing another video using one of the mini palettes from the Too Faced holiday collection. So today I'm going to be using this little deer palette. Like all of the others, it is super cute. It has this little tiara necklace on, and here's what the inside of the palette looks like. Out of all of the mini palettes, this one is the most like dramatic and smoky. So yeah. Also today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different type of video. Usually I just kind of speed up all the parts where I do my makeup, but I'm going to be chatting a little bit today. It's been a few days, but I'm just going to be talking about stuff that happened on Wednesday because, I don't know, I just feel like I need to talk about it. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So let's get started. I'm going to be concealing using my Revlon Candid Concealer in the shade Fair and blending with my Beauty 360 makeup sponge. So as most of you probably know, Wednesday we had a coup attempt at the Capitol. It was domestic terrorism and it was a riot. One thing it was not is a protest. That's not how protests work. And I had talked about on my Facebook page how if it had been a Black Lives Matter protest, it would have been handled much differently. And someone had the audacity to tell me that they weren't looting Target, they were protesting. It's kind of a different thing. It is a different thing. People during Black Lives Matter were looting sometimes, because when they peacefully protest, nothing has been happening. However, on Wednesday, people decided to break the windows, push through police barricades, bring weapons, and smear their shit on the walls of the Capitol, all because they lost an election. That's not a protest. That's all the things that I listed before. And if you think that looting a Target is worse than that, then you're seriously fucked up. Okay, because I'm doing like a bolder, smoky look today, I'm gonna do like the intense like nose contouring like I did for New Year's Eve. So I'm using the Maybelline Master Prime for cream contour, and I'm just using this like baby sponge to blend it. So yeah, like the whole reason that this riot started was because Trump lost the election. However, people like refuse to believe that, which I mean I have always been very anti-Trump. I really don't understand how someone could support him, but I'm not an idiot. I know that he does have supporters. So how these people are like so baffled by the fact that he lost, like they know that there are people who don't like him. They know that there are a lot of us. So like, I mean, he lost the popular vote twice. So, I mean, just these claims of fraud are so baseless. His like claims have been thrown out of 60 plus courts, by the way, where he appointed the judges. I mean, there's just absolutely zero fact behind any of this, and people are just willing to believe whatever the fuck he says, and it's absolute insanity. And then they, decide to storm the Capitol to fight it. I mean, when Trump won the first election, Democrats did protest. You know what we did? We put on some pink hats and we marched. We didn't try to kill anyone and succeed, by the way. There are at least 5 or 6 people that have died. One of those a police officer. There are a bunch of police that have also been injured. And I mean, people, like, do blue lives matter to you now? I'm just curious, because it seems to change what you care about all the time. I mean, pro-life, and then you go and kill a bunch of people. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so now I'm setting my face using the Maybelline Super Stay Powder, and I'm just gonna, like, kind of, like, avoid the places where I put the cream contour. But yeah, so, I mean, even Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and all of those assholes and Mike Pence believe that, they believe in the election results, because that's just, how it fucking works. These people, I mean, you can't just believe everything that he says. I mean, like, actually, answer me one question. Like, what will it take for you to not support him? Like, don't tell me that you're not in a cult and then be like, oh yeah, he rapes people, he's a total racist, he is homophobic, xenophobic, he literally tried to destroy the country, but he's a great guy, and I'm not in a cult. I don't, I'm not a sheep. I don't believe everything someone says, unless it's Trump. For bronzer, I'm using the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer with the number 2 brush from BH Cosmetics. But yeah, and that, like, previous statement about, like, what will it take? Like, that applies to a bunch of politicians as well. Like, they were supposed to be confirming the election results, and even after people staged a coup in the Capitol building, there were still 8 people who were like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna keep supporting this idea that is completely baseless. Like, tell me, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, what do you want, like, someone to say to you? What will it take for you to be like, yes, the election results are not fraudulent, and you know what? Trump is a piece of shit, and no, people shouldn't have come and put my life in danger. And the same, people are calling for the 25th Amendment, which I totally support, but I mean, Mike Pence still won't do it. Like, Mike Pence could have died, Trump put his life in danger, and yet he still wants to kiss his ass and let him be president. To contour, I'm going to be using the shade Lazarus from the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I'm using a big fan brush for my face and a smaller eyeshadow angled brush for my nose. But yeah, so I've talked a lot about the politicians to blame for this, like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and obviously Donald Trump. Let's talk about some other people, like his supporters. As I mentioned, there's some that, just completely defend this and think that looting a Target is worse. There are also some that have been eerily quiet about all of this. You see, after the coup is not the time to be like, oh, I didn't know, I thought he was a good guy. Yeah, maybe this shouldn't have happened. No. Donald Trump has shown you all who he is since before he got elected the first time. I mean, the only time, because he lost. You heard him on tape brag about grabbing women by the pussy. You've heard his 20 plus sexual assault allegations, including some, like, towards minors, because he likes to just, go backstage at beauty pageants. He makes predatory comments about his own daughters on television. And, then there's his buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, who ran a sex trafficking ring. He literally ran on racism. Like, his whole thing was that he was gonna build a wall to keep Mexicans out, which they were gonna pay for. By the way, none of that happened. You know, he runs on taking women's rights away and not letting them choose what to do with their own bodies. So, I mean, oh, and then, you know, when he mocks the disabled. So, I mean, before he was even elected, he showed you all who he was. He continued to while he was in office. So don't try to tell me that you didn't know and that, oh, you're sorry now. No, I don't take it. I don't believe it. I don't forgive you. For blush, I'm going to be combining the two shades in the palette. So the top one here is Christmas Morning, and this one is Fruitcake. And I'm going to be using the number 3 brush from BH Cosmetics. But yeah, so, and it's not only on his supporters. I mean, people who didn't vote in the first election, people who have, you know, remained friendly to Trump supporters, and oh, we can agree to disagree. No, blood is on your hands too. Thank you very much. You need to vote in elections, and you need to call that fucking shit out when you hear it and when you see it. I mean, this isn't, you know, all a bunch of extremists, because literally everyone who supports Trump is an extremist. And if you're complicit in it, then it's on you too. For highlight, I'm going to be going into the Aurora Glow Kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and towards, like, my temple, I'm going to be using the shade Orion, and then, like, lower on my cheekbone and on my nose, I'm using the shade Helia. So I'm starting with the number 4 brush. Highlight doesn't really take that long, so I'll make my next point during brows. For brows, I'm using my usual Maybelline Tattoo Studio. So, and then, you know, when I make the point of whether you were actively supporting him, whether you were just complicit in it, don't make the mistake of thinking that I'm only talking about what happened on Wednesday. I mean, that was fucked up, and it was terrible, and it was literally an attempt to destroy our democracy while, you know, killing multiple people. But that's not all I'm talking about. I mean, to anyone who is like, oh, it's just 4 years, how bad could it be? Right now, we are living through a pandemic that has lasted over a year. And I'm not just talking in the United States, or I am just talking in the United States, I mean. Other countries have had this under control for a while now, like months. So not only are we living through a pandemic that's gone on for over a year, but we are also, you know, just experienced that coup attempt. I mean, that's how bad it can be, okay? That's how bad. And it's on you if you didn't vote, if you, you know, were friends of people who were Trump supporters, if you supported Trump yourself, and if you're a politician who is continuing to support Trump, or just trying to, you know, jump off the bandwagon and be like, oh, I resign now 2 weeks before. No, you could be, you know, helping to enact the 25th Amendment, and you could have realized what a mistake you were making a while ago. Okay, so for eyeshadow, I'm going to be doing like a little like winged shape. I'm using this number 11 brush from BH Cosmetics, and I'm using the shade Ding Dong to make the shape. So quickly to the point about the pandemic. I mean, that is huge, and it hasn't even been able to really make it into the news for like the past few days because of all of Wednesday's events. I mean, the pandemic is killing more than 9/11 numbers of people every single day, and yet we have so many people out there that are like, oh, it's lasted a long time. I can't be away from my friends and family. I'm wearing a mask, so it's okay, right? No, it's not. It's not. I mean, trust me, I want to be out with friends and family. I mean, the holidays we just had, it was awful to not see everyone, all my family, for the holidays. And I just turned 20. I'm supposed to be, like, having the time of my life right now. And you know what I'm doing instead? I'm at home. The big thrill of my life for the past year has been going and getting some curbside pickup at Walmart. So, really, I just want you to shut the fuck up. Like, if you're, talking about how you go out to lunch with this person and that person, fuck you. Okay, so now for the outer portion of my eye, I'm using this black shade down the chimney, and I'm just gonna keep with this same brush. So back to Wednesday. Let's talk about how Trump is gonna try to pardon himself. All these people that are like, oh, is Antifa, like, it didn't happen, it wasn't Trump's fault. By pardoning yourself, you're just, like, admitting to guilt, because you know that you would be, like, found guilty of it. He cannot just be allowed to pardon himself and his whole family, Rudy Giuliani. Literally, he's, like, accepting applications for people to pardon. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work. Okay, so I know I look kind of like an alien right now, but that's gonna be fixed. I'm just gonna keep going with this brush, and I'm using the shade Baby It's Cold, and I'm just gonna kind of, like, put that, like, in the middle here. So now, let's talk about why, even though Trump has less than 2 weeks left at this point in office, we need to still be getting the fuck rid of him. First of all, let's start with the fact that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram have all banned him, at least for now, and until the inauguration. If you cannot be trusted to send out a tweet, you cannot have the nuclear launch codes. Period. And for anyone that's like, oh, like, they really can't silence him, like, why are they shutting down his accounts? Just go ahead and think about it like a Christian bakery that refuses to make a gay wedding cake. Okay, next I'm going to be doing the inner portion of my eye with the shade 100% That Grinch. So continuing, like, with that. He also, we saw what happened when they were confirming the election results. So what do we think is gonna happen on Inauguration Day? Like, I'm personally terrified. I've been looking forward to the inauguration for so long. We're gonna have our first female vice president. Like, that's huge. But these people are violent. Like, my parents are watching the news right now, and I can overhear some of it. These people were screaming, "Hang Mike Pence." Especially relative to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They fucking love Pence. So if they want to kill him, like, what are they going to try at the inauguration? Okay, so I just cleaned that up a little bit to make sure that there was, like, really clear lines between the black, blue, and green. I also just kind of, like, patted with my finger a little more because the shade Baby It's Cold, it has, like, a blue reflect to it, but it, like, wasn't really showing up before. And then I also used, I don't know if you heard that was my cat. I also used, like, just a tiny bit of the shade Blue Christmas from the Polar Bear palette, just to make sure that the blue was really popping and it wasn't, like, getting, like, brown and muddy with the green and black. So now I'm going to go back to one of the highlight brushes I used, which is number 12, and I'm using the shade All the Jingle Ladies for my inner corner. Going back to the brush that I've been using for most of my eyeshadow, I'm just going to take the shade Ding Dong and put that on my lower lash line a little bit. And then for the outer portion to connect with the black on my lid, I'm using the shade Down the Chimney again. For mascara, I'm using the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. So, I mean, I think that's kind of the gist of, like, what I wanted to say. I didn't, like, write any of this out. I was just kind of talking as I went along. I mean, there's so much I could say, but, I don't know. So, let me know if you like this style of video where I talk more while I do my makeup. Hopefully in the future there'll be some lighter topics to discuss, but I mean, this is just kind of what I had to talk about today, and like, I'm just like very passionate, especially about political things. Also, I mean, if you found any of the stuff I said harsh, just know that I truly do not care. With everything regarding to Trump, his followers, the pandemic, everything, I mean, this has all just been going on far too long for anyone to claim any form of ignorance. So yeah, I mean, if you felt targeted by anything, then you probably did something wrong. And I mean, when I say that, like, I'm not saying that, like, any little thing someone does, like, caused this. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I know that perfectly well. But, I mean, this, I wish, was something that everyone could say we didn't see coming, but I mean, it's been in the making these past 4 years, and so if you, like, did something to, like, actually incite the violence by, believing these false claims, by supporting him after he'd shown you who he was, if you didn't stand up to people who supported him, I mean, those things are wrong. Okay, I actually almost forgot to do my eyeliner, so I'm using the Wet n Wild Kohl pencil in the shade Baby's Got Black for my tight line. And I'm using the shade You Are Always White for my waterline. And something else that I just need to touch on is, I mean, how this happened. I mean, obviously Trump had been promising a wild January 6th for a while, and, was telling people to do this, and yeah, they did not in any way have significant amount of force to stop it. But also, I mean, watching the news and listening to some of these people, they saw, off-duty cops and stuff waving their badges to get past. So, I mean, when, during Black Lives Matter, when people are like, not all cops, no one believes it's all cops. That's not what we're saying. You saying that it's not all cops is you just, trying to turn the attention away from, what's actually going on. There are obviously enough cops if, they're killing Black people all the time, if they're letting this happen to our capital and to our country. So, I mean, just, like, actually think about it. Don't change the focus because it makes you uncomfortable. Just, like, actually think about how, we do need systemic change. And, we need more of the good cops that everyone knows that we have. There just aren't enough of them. For falsies, I'm using these magnetic lashes from the Urban Lash. Just as I do this, I mean, I know that I said that I thought that's all I had to say. But like I said, I didn't plan any of this out, so I still have things popping into my mind. Some of the senators that we have right now who voted to not impeach Trump the first time and that still are against impeachment, you know who they did vote to impeach? Bill Clinton for a blowjob. I mean, like, you seriously can't tell me that, like, I mean, there's so much evidence pointing to the fact that, like, Trump did incite this violence. He put, you know, like, all of those senators' lives in danger the other day. Like, I mean, as I said, they were shouting, "Hang Mike Pence." They had weapons. They brought explosives. They had zip ties to take hostages. I mean, thank God these people are just so fucking incompetent. Like, so I mean, the president put their lives in danger, and yet they think that's less serious than a blowjob. Like, what the actual fuck? Okay, for lipstick, I'm using the Melted Matte in the shade Sugar Cookie. And I mean, just to clarify, like, everything that I was talking about with Bill Clinton, I mean, that is in no way intended to, like, downplay the act of lying under oath. That is just to point out the deep hypocrisy, like, with both those senators, and that runs, you know, in pretty much the entire Republican Party right now. And then I'm just going to top that with this Anastasia gloss in the shade Citrine. Okay, so that completes this look. Here it is from a distance. And here it is zoomed in. Okay, so that's it for this video using this Deer palette. I mean, I guess this video is pretty ranty, but I mean, it's stuff that I had to say. So, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Hopefully that should be pretty soon. Everything's been a little hectic with everything happening in the world, but also getting ready to move. But I'll definitely have at least 2 more videos before then. So yeah, I will see you next time, and thank you for watching. Bye.